Hello and welcome to the Oss-So Crazy podcast, brought to you by Ranked Soap Company and Fight Back CBD.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 6.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's been a little while.
It's been a minute.
It's been a couple minutes. 6 minutes about?
Yeah, maybe more or less.
Minutes equal weeks here.
It's just that everyone's been sick or injured or something was going on these last few weeks. This hasn't been our timing's been off, but we're all together and we're ready to start this next episode 6 here with Joe.
Joe Hacken, yeah. He is a Fight Back CBD athlete. He's actually who introduced us to Justin and Fight Back CBD. So we're going to be excited to have him on here. And it was actually his idea to have our podcast go the route with the mental health episode and everything. So
good idea.
Yeah, good idea, Joe.
Yeah.
So we may have some big announcements coming, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a huge guest list. Despite the fact that we haven't had an episode lately, we do have a lot of guests planned, and some major ones possibly in the next few weeks around the holidays, hopefully. We'll see if we can get it scheduled.
Yeah,
that should start
stay tuned.
Yes.
So, Joe Hacken is that how you say his name?
That is how you say his name?
Okay.
Too tall.
Joe Hacken, aka Too Tall, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, an MMA fighter, and an active Jiu-Jitsu competitor in the New York area.
Who used to train with us a few years back. Yeah. So we're going to get him on here in just a moment.
So, let's just, for those of you that don't know Joe, we're just going to ask him a few questions. So, where do you train out of? Like, what academy?
Currently, I train at Buffalo United Martial Arts in Buffalo, New York.
Now, you trained there before you trained with us at Compritos, right? You were from New York?
Yeah, I first started out at Buffalo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Okay.
And that's where the current owners of Buffalo United started out. We kind of came up together. When I first started, Professor Josh Ketry, he was a blue belt when I started. Professor Larry Backless, he was a green belt because we do a belt in between white and blue. We do a green belt to kind of keep people, interested and kind of differentiate the brand new people from the people that are there. But, they suck a little less than the new people. So, And then Professor Keith Forant, who he just got his black belt earlier this year, he was we started at the same time. Okay. So they ended up branching off from Buffalo BJJ and started doing their own thing with Buma. So
Gotcha. Now, where did you get your blue belt and purple belt?
I got my blue belt when I was at Buffalo BJJ.
Okay.
Couple months before I left, I want to say, to come to Illinois, Chicago area. And then I got my purple from Professor Josh at Buma just in March of this year.
Okay. Gotcha. And that's who you said you started with? Or he was a blue belt when you started?
He was a blue belt when I started. The head instructor at Buffalo BJJ was Chuck Anzalone.
Oh, okay.
He was a brown when I started, and then he got his black belt from De La Hiva.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. He had come in for a seminar. I was maybe a month in. I didn't feel like I was ready for anything that heavy. So I didn't go to that seminar, but he came a couple of years later. And it was at that first seminar that Professor Chuck got his black belt.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because funny story, he was actually a Carlson Gracie guy in Chicago. He started out in the Jamestown area in New York and then moved out to Chicago and lived with Carlson and trained with him up until, I want to say, his brown. And then Carlson died, and then he came back to Buffalo and started teaching.
Senior. Okay. That was his mentor.
Oh, wow.
Junior. Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's a good
cool.
start. Yeah, that's a good one.
So, Joe, you were also a kickboxer, and have you fought MMA before?
No, never MMA before.
Oh,
My last fight was just before I left for Chicago, 6.5 years now, maybe something like that.
Okay. That was kickboxing?
Yeah, just Muay Thai.
Muay Thai
kickboxing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How long did you do that
knees
for?
And stuff.
Did you do that for a long time, Joe?
I was actually trying to retrace the timeline in my head the other day. I was thinking about it. Started doing the jiu-jitsu, and then I want to say maybe like 4 or 5 months, they started offering the Muay Thai classes at Buffalo BJJ. And it was one of those things where I was super intimidated to start it because, you know, it's striking. I never had been in any sort of fight before then, never really done anything that kind of physical. And then just, you know, like, even though I'm like large in size and everything, I was like super meek walking over like, hey guys, can I jump in? And they're like, yeah, sure, come on in. And, you know, didn't look back ever since.
Nice. I mean, it is kind of scary getting hit in the head all the time. And then not only just like the psychological aspect of it, can also cause problems, you know, especially like later on. Mm-hmm. So, it's not definitely it's not an easy thing to get over.
Where did you grow up, Joe? Did you grow up in New York, or is it Chicago, or I can't remember. I know once you told me.
I grew up outside of Buffalo in a little town called East Aurora, New York, where I currently live right now. It's maybe 20, 25 minutes outside the city.
Gotcha. Well, we're currently in West Aurora, if you will. We're in Aurora, Illinois right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, so crazy.
Oh, so crazy.
Oh, so crazy.
You're called Joe Too Tall Hackin. How did that happen? I mean, you're tall, but I mean, it's not like you're 6'10" or anything. It's
yeah. So the mythical origins of the Too Tall nickname there. My first fight that I was getting ready for, my first kickboxing fight, was going to be like 190 pounds. So told my instructor, this is my height. This is everything. Sent the information over. They told me I got an opponent. Awesome. Great. You know, once you get that opponent, kind of your mindset starts to change. You're like, okay, now I have kind of a concrete, okay, there's one person that I'm going after. And then the next time I came in for class, my instructor came in and said, Joey pulled out of the fight. And I was like, really? Why? And he said, well, they heard how tall you was. And he said, I don't want to fight him. He's too tall. And it turns out the guy was like 5'6", fighting at 190.
Oh, wow.
You're what, 6?
Yeah.
He's like 6'4"?
You're not 6'4".
6'3" on a good day.
6'3"?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow,
That's pretty tall.
Yeah, that is tall, yeah.
Too tall.
Yeah, so
that is too tall.
So then the name just kind of stuck. So
Did you have a lot of people coming out to see you fight too that day? A lot of
for the first one?
Yeah.
Not more than usual back in those days, because there was back in quote unquote the early days of my fighting career, there was only really one promotion in town that was doing fights. So some of my partners would come out. They ended up finding me an opponent, and I had the fight anyway, but it wasn't the original Too Tall guy. But I don't know, sometimes you get a good amount of people that come out, other times, you know, conflicting schedules and whatnot, but there's always, you know, a lot of support at the gym, a lot of people asking, how you doing? Do you need this? Do you need that? So that kind of family environment kind of picks everybody up.
How tall was your opponent finally? The one that actually ended up fighting.
Jeez, I don't remember how tall he was, but he definitely wasn't as tall as I was. I definitely had a good amount of reach on him still.
Mm.
So, you said you competed at 190. I know you were heavier when you were training with us a couple of years back, and you look like you've leaned out quite a bit since the last time we saw you. Yeah. So, are you back to that 190-ish mark, or?
Right now, I think I jumped on the scale a day or two ago, and I was like 202. Okay. So I was definitely heavier when I was training with you guys a little bit. like right when I left Chicago, when I first came back, I was much heavier than what I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the lightest I've competed at is 177 and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that was for Naga Battle of the Beach.
Okay.
So that was a fun car ride going from Buffalo to Jersey. So it was like 8-ish hours.
Oh,
Wow.
geez, 8 hours.
With me and Professor Larry driving down. He's spitting into a container the entire time. I'm sitting there miserable. He's got the sweats on and everything. We're turning up the heat in the car.
Geez.
And
That sounds terrible.
I mean, it is, but I was very much taller than everyone in my weight class. So
You were too tall.
yeah,
Not surprised.
I was too tall for everybody.
And recently you competed in grappling industries. Yeah, and you won.
Yeah, that was a couple weekends ago.
What weight was that in? Weight class?
It was under 210 was the weight class.
Okay.
Like they structure everything a little differently. I think I weighed in at 199 for that one.
Cool.
But yeah, that was a hell of a day.
I think you got like two
'Cause I ended up-
silvers, 2 silvers and a gold or something like that.
Yeah, 2 silvers and a gold. I did 4 divisions. I did gi and no gi, my weight and experience, and then I did the absolutes for both of them. So
Wow.
So going
That
back to like when you were 170 whatever when you were too tall, would you say you had tall strength? Like, you know how there's like farmer strength and old man strength and fat strength and all of those things. There's also tall strength. Like it's like if you get the right amount of leverage, and sometimes tall people like you have like tall structure. I don't have tall structure.
What?
You mean like tall and flexible and being
No,
able to do
they have
like the rubber guard?
big hands, the thick forearms. My freaking girlfriend has tall structure. I don't.
Shout out to Stephanie.
So yeah, I definitely think there is such a thing as tall strength, but it's definitely different than farmer strength or from old man strength. Because like you were saying, with the whole leverage thing, for that tournament that I was for the Battle of the Beach, I played a lot of spider guard.
Okay.
And I just was able to keep guys away. And I don't know, there is something about the long levers and everything where you're able to pull and move people out of position. Not going to say easier, but you have more of an advantage in that way where you can kind of sort of drift people off into one direction and then sort of take them where you want to take them. And then it's hard for them to recover because they're like a mile away trying to.
I tried to use tall length on Jessica once, and she gave me a flying armbar.
Yeah, gotta watch out for those.
Yeah, if you ever roll with Dan Borovic, he definitely has tall strength.
Yeah.
He has tall, flexible strength.
Yeah, I remember rolling with him once, and I was like, it was probably when I first got to Compritos, and I was moving around, and he's like, you're doing great. But I was just like feeling so gassed out and just like, oh shit, oh no.
What is this? What?
Yeah.
Is this an octopus or?
Yeah.
A quick shout out to both of our sponsors, Fight Back CBD and Rank Soap Company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin and Kevin. Yeah.
You guys rock.
You're the best around.
You're the best around. No, we're not. We're not keeping that one.
We are keeping that.
She's got talents. American Idol's gonna be calling.
Watch out. I'm going on The Voice. America's Got Talent. American Idol. And even The Voice UK.
Do you work with? I know you're a physical therapist, right? So,
Yeah, physical therapist assistant.
Okay, PTA. So, did you ever work with like mental health patients, or what was the whole story with that?
My wheelhouse has always been working with geriatrics and
Okay.
working with the elderly, and just there's so much, everyone, I love working with the old people because everyone has a story. I've had patients who have
Hey, Joe, he likes working with you.
Wars and everything, so.
Yeah, no, he was talking to me on that one. No, I know it's got to be fun because there's so much history with some of your patients. So I'm sure you get like a really good. It's a good time too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then kind of touching back on the mental health thing, martial arts. They've given me so much in life. It's crazy. Like the person that I was before I started doing jiu-jitsu and doing Muay Thai to the person I am now is a completely different person.
Yeah.
Just the confidence and everything. And, like as a kid, I had real low self-esteem. I was always the chubby kid. I was always, not getting girls, this and that, not that that's changed now, still not getting girls, but, but martial arts kind of has given me like a reassurance of myself and totally changed my self-image. And even, when I left Chicago, when I got divorced, was in a real rough spot. And then when Booma opened their doors for me to come and help them grow the kickboxing program, I was just like, yes, of course. And then kind of throwing myself in head first into that, has been really super beneficial, I think, in, getting back to the old Joe.
Okay. So, you moved, because of the kickboxing thing? That was like
was it for job? I thought.
I moved to be with a girl.
Oh, okay.
That age old story.
Okay.
Gotcha. Wait. To Chicago or to New York? To Chicago or to New York?
Oh, to Chicago.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because we were out in Rockford for like a year.
Oh.
And then was out towards then moved around to Naperville and then eventually in Carroll Stream, kind of settled down there.
So you were near West Aurora as well.
Yeah, so you're familiar with the area very well.
But West Aurora, I mean just Aurora west of you.
What about for like doing your Muay Thai? How is that? I mean, isn't that got to be like super? I mean, tough. I mean, I can't imagine the beating the body's got to take.
Oh yes, it's definitely not for not for the faint of heart. It's there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm very much a technique nerd. So when I'm teaching or when I'm helping teach, I'll take a look at somebody and I'll see how they're hitting the pads and kind of like picking apart those little itty bitty things that they're doing to make their technique so much better. That really gets me going on there. But I know that like there was one fight that I had where coming out of the fight, I had a hematoma on one of my feet and then I had rolled the other ankle. So I had two bum feet and I was having to try and propel myself on crutches and everything. And I remember having a lab practical. I was still in school for PTA and the teachers were like, no, it's okay. You don't have to move. I'm like, no, I got to do this. So I'm just like sitting there hobbling around, wincing in pain. But no, Muay Thai is awesome. Like ever since I started doing it, I just always wanted to do more and wanted to do more with it.
Gotcha.
Interesting. So obviously you have a lot on your plate. You're teaching, you're working, and you do jiu-jitsu and train Muay Thai. So what's a typical schedule like for you during the week?
It depends. Usually just teaching, I'm at the gym, I want to say 4 days a week. Because there's Monday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, and Saturday morning. And then I'll try and fit some training in there. When I'm healthy enough to go about and do it, I'll throw like a Tuesday or a Thursday in there to get a gi class in. And then I usually stay to train on Saturday, but just kind of throwing myself head in and just really dedicating myself to doing the jiu-jitsu and the Muay Thai. There's not really much time for anything else.
Right.
I try to find a social life outside of the gym, but I don't know. There's that calm in just seeing the same people and over again at the gym and building those relationships and, knowing the kind of people that you bring into jiu-jitsu and the people that stay around,
Yeah.
those are the kind of people I always want to associate with.
Right. So actually, that's my social life right there. Is pretty much that. I have time for an additional social life, which I do not use.
Have you found being a purple belt is a tough belt for you in competitions and stuff versus being a blue?
Yes, very much so. I remember, like right when I came back, they said, you're almost ready for your purple, but you need to get some more consistency. So I started to ramp up my training, and I really started to have a go at it. And I remember my last competition as a blue belt, I think I ended up winning, taking gold.
Nice.
And then my first competition as a purple was the New York Open in April. I was like a month as a purple belt.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
I stepped out on the mat, and I went against a guy from Argentina, and I held him in my guard for like 6 minutes in high guard. And I was like, oh, wow, this is real different. Like feeling how everyone moved and everything else. And I think I kind of like psyched myself out in that aspect. But definitely there's a bump up in competition, because it feels like, at least to me, competing in blue, you've got like the people that are the fresh blue belts, or you've got the people that are more seasoned getting ready for their purple. There's that little bit of that experience gap.
Yeah.
But then when you're at purple, there's those people that just got their purple belt, or they're ready for their brown belt, or somewhere in between, and that's like,
they're all good.
It feels like that's such a bigger gap to fill.
Yeah.
So do you prefer training with gi or no gi?
I actually like both. There's a lot of stuff in gi that I like to do. I love to play a lot of high guard. I love to, use my flexibility and just wrap people up in the lapels. But I also really love training in the no gi, because I like to experiment with a lot of the 10th Planet stuff, with a lot of rubber guard, and especially more so like meat hook now and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Do you also play the leg lock games?
I've been dabbling in the dark arts a little bit more now. So since watching EBI and Quintet and everything, and bought the Danaher DVDs with a few other guys. So trying out some of that stuff and just starting to play around with it more. It's very interesting. I can see where the openings for the leg locks will start to transition to other parts of my game. And it's just, it's a whole new, it's like having a new toy to play with, and it's really exciting, and, can't wait to see how it all goes.
Now, you were about to do your first MMA fight, and you're a Fight Back CBD athlete. You had the Fight Back shorts and everything ready to go. But you got injured. What happened?
So, in preparation for the fight, we were going to another gym to do some sparring, because they had a cage, and they had some guys getting ready for some fights. So our ritual for the month of October was going to be Tuesday night sparring. So we went out to the gym, and it was probably the best that I had felt all camp. Like, my footwork was good, my movement was good, my cardio was starting to pick up, everything was feeling good. It was one of those stupid things where it was the last 30 seconds of the very last round of sparring. One of my training partners took me down, and guy was a wrestler in high school, judo black belt. So, that judo top pressure is just crazy. And I went to try and scoot my hips away, because one of the game plans we were going to work was, if I was in the middle of the cage, I was going to try and push on the head, scoot the hips out to either get back up to standing or get to a more advantageous position where I could sweep and get on top, or, get to guard and start working on my submission game. I went to go and snake my hips away, and they didn't move, but my upper body did. And as I was pushing, I just felt a strain and a pop in my low ribs. And like, as soon as it happened, I just started tapping the mat, and everyone's like, he's tapping. And I just like, I felt gutted, because I knew that I did something to it. And I was just like, oh, great.
Yikes. So what was the injury? Like, what actually happened?
When I went to the doctor, they said that it's possible that I strained the ligaments between the ribs and the muscles in there, because as my doctor, like, I just got a primary now because, you know, when you get injured, when you finally need it, then you go out and you find a doctor. But she said that when you overstretch the ligaments, it can feel like the ribs are clicking on top of one another, especially down real low in the floating ribs where my injury is. So she said, just have to rest it, heal up, go back into it slowly. Don't do anything stupid. I'm just shaking my head at her like, yep, I know.
Wow.
So
yeah, it sounds painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially judo
definitely
top
wasn't
pressure.
fun.
I mean, I know Aditya's top pressure hurts already, so I can imagine judo black belt pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't of anything of anyone's fault. It was just one of those freak things where you turn a certain way and something happens.
Yeah.
Dang.
My ribs actually kind of messed up too, and it just happened teaching beginners too. Like, I don't even know what happened. It just I felt something, and then it's been hurting ever since. So.
Wait,
Oh, no.
recently?
Yeah, just last
What?
week.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Now you got a shoulder.
Yeah, I
Wait,
guess
you got-
the entire
Hurt
left side of my
during
body.
just teaching?
No, I was sparring with them, but like something like popped here. It's happened before. There's a lot of scar tissue there from a previous rib injury, so it happened in that area. But like, yeah, I definitely hear your ribs are fragile, and I knew it was gonna happen because I hadn't been stretching that area as much too. I knew when it gets too tight, it's like susceptible to that. So
Yeah.
Joe, how do you train for all this stuff that you're doing? Is it just more mat time and sparring time, or is there road work, you know, hitting bags? You know what I'm saying? Like, so like the people that don't know.
Yeah, so getting ready for this fight, I was doing a fair amount of road work, you know, trying to get some conditioning time in at the gym, but a lot of it was just mat time, just kind of rolling and getting that anaerobic sort of conditioning down and everything, and hitting the bags, doing pad work, sparring, getting used to trying to mix up my punches with my takedowns with my jiu-jitsu, because my stand-up is good, my jiu-jitsu is good, my wrestling is questionable at times, but I know enough that I can, you know, try and work around it. But trying to like mesh it all together, that's where a lot of the work is put in to try to, you know.
So what you're saying
Go
is
from-
you're street ready.
He's a lethal
Yeah.
weapon.
Yes, I'm still waiting for for my registration paperwork to come back, but you know,
Do they allow you on airplanes?
Yeah.
they have a special section for me on airplanes, actually.
Feeling dirty? Rank Soap Company can take care of that for you.
Okay, so what are your like goals? Do you want to continue mainly just doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, or do you want to have another MMA fight eventually and just focus on that, or
You come into Chicago to the Open to take some gold medals back home with you?
Possibly. I have to see what my schedule is, but I kind of started mapping out the next year. I definitely want to start to get into MMA. I'm actually going to go down to Austin at the end of January to do the Austin Open down there and go visit Justin and, you know, go train with him and see what Sinister BJJ and all that is all about. Let's see, what else do I have going on? I want to go to the Arnold's, and that's in March, I think. There's a Grappling
gonna bodybuild?
Industries. Oh, no, not for the bodybuilding. No. Even though that was, I mean, I could walk up there and it would be like that video. There's that video of that guy that just sort of walks up. He's got that like skinny fat pot belly and he starts doing the pose down and everything. And all the muscle guys are kind of looking at him all funny. That would totally be me getting up there. But yeah, there's a Grappling Industries at the Arnold's, and there's a Craig Jones seminar that I want to go to.
nice?
April, I'm going to go train at State College, Pennsylvania with Ajahn Chai. He's the guy that pretty much brought Muay Thai to America.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been to a few of his seminars, and my original Muay Thai instructor was trained directly under him. So,
Gotcha. What's his
you
name
know,
again?
getting it straight.
What's his name?
Ajahn Chai. Like Arjan is the title for, I forgot what the direct translation is, but it's, I don't want to say like Grandmaster, but it's like the top of the top. Because when you go through the USMTA system, there's different armbands, and then there's a level 1 instructor, level 2 instructor, and then crew. And then I want to say there's like a level 1 crew, maybe a couple other levels, and then you can reach Arjan after that. But it's after crew, it's time based, kind of like the degrees on a black belt.
Okay.
But yeah. So then I'm going to try to go to Iowa this year to do the USMTA sanction, which is a 4-day Muay Thai tournament. Then I plan on doing Masters Worlds again in August.
Okay. You competed this year?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was funny because I was getting kind of nervous. And then when I was in the bullpen, my nerves started to calm down. And then when it came time for my match, I felt like I could think clearly and do everything I wanted to do. I got my opponent in every position I wanted to. As I was going for top position, he threw a Hail Mary Ezekiel from the bottom.
Oh, that's right. I do remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a bummer. And he said, afterwards, he said, yeah, I had to do it because you were just, taking control of everything. So I took that as a compliment, and
yeah,
I was disappointed, but not too disappointed. I mean, you put in the work, you go out there, sometimes you make a critical error, and then there will be other tournaments, and you just know what you have to work on for next time.
Right.
That actually reminded me. Most of your opponents have been like really cool people, and you met Justin and stuff. But like, I know Justin wasn't your opponent, but there was the one time you said there was one guy who was an asshole, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
What?
At
tell us
at
that
the
story.
New York Open. Yeah,
I'd
that
love to
was.
hear this.
I mean, there's all sorts of different kinds of people that, get into jiu-jitsu and everything. And sometimes people think their shit doesn't stink. And, sometimes people are cool about stuff and sometimes people aren't cool. And, it just sort of is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What happened?
So that was after my first match, and I was kind of like rattled from, competing at blue belt the first time, and then, at purple for the first time. And then I had another match. So they were like, oh, you have another match. I was like, okay. And then I went out there and I just got completely smoked. Like, he just dominated and took over. And then he's like, oh, well, afterwards I was talking with him and he's like, well, you did this wrong and you did that wrong. And I was able to scout you doing this and that, and like kind of telling me what I should have done instead of what I did.
Oh, okay.
But telling it in that like explain-a-brag sort of way, where like, I'm going to explain something and show my superiority and this and that by explaining it to you. And then I was like, okay. And sometimes it's hard to keep your cool when you're talking with those kind of people, because it's not like I'm a dummy. I mean, like, I've been training for probably a decade now, on and off doing jiu-jitsu. So it's like, I have an idea of what I'm doing, but everyone has their own methods and their own theories and their own game plans. And I mean, if it didn't jive with what your game plan would have been for me, okay, cool.
Yeah.
If not, then,
Did it ever happen to any of you guys? Dietz or Jess? No.
Right?
I can't think of a time I've had a rude opponent ever.
It's rare. Everyone's really cool.
Yeah, that probably means I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm that guy.
Really?
I can't see you doing it.
But one time there was it was last Chicago summer. I was like really like amped up for that tournament. And I I shook both my opponent's hands before, before
that's
the
right,
combust.
you did.
But after the,
when you were going for the championship against a real tall dude, you didn't shake his hand, and
tall
the guy,
guy?
he was too tall. He was like 6'7".
Joey's fighting this guy. He's super tall, and he wants to go to shake Dietz's hand, but Dietz is like in another zone. Dietz looks and just pulls his hand back, and he's like, "No, that's it."
Hold on. Okay.
Wait,
You guys
what?
remember this?
No.
Oh my god, it was great. We talked about it forever.
Okay, let's hear your side of the story.
Okay. So, I go in there, I shook his hand before the combust signal, and then, I backed up a little bit, and then
Was he going for the, slap bump?
Yeah, he was going for the slap
okay.
bump, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't trust it. Like,
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
well, after the combust, it's okay if you don't.
yeah.
Because
So,
sometimes people can be cheap.
They
and,
can.
grab
Really?
your hand.
That's
they'll
what
go
I was
for the
worried
shake,
about.
and then they
They go
try
for
to get for a
like
good
a
grab.
2-on-1.
Yeah.
Really?
he was a nice dude.
No, he was a nice dude at
Yeah.
the end. He was just like, you should have seen it, like, shook his head like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, man.
Just rubbing it.
This is how this shit's going. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then he won, and we were all going crazy. Because it's like when your opponent, when you're training, your friends win. It's like you win too. I feel like I won. Like he won, I felt like I won. Jess wins, I feel like I win.
But the opponent right before that was like, man, he was complaining to you and Jim. Like, he was like, man, he was giving me the evil eye and stuff. I could hear it in the recording of my second match. Him complaining to you
Wait,
guys.
why did he complain to you?
He wasn't really complaining. He was just like, man, this guy was over here giving me the
Didn't
evil
he
eye.
know that you're his teammate?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I had the
Oh,
jacket
okay.
on with the pants.
yeah.
The Dietz jacket?
Yeah.
But that guy's super cool. He's my friend now and
Yeah.
stuff. So like,
Like, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
He said everyone before that would be like coming up, shaking hands before the match and saying hello. I'm over there glaring my music and staring them down and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes you do get in that headspace and you get that Dan Gable 1,000-yard stare, and you just, you're
Yeah,
in the
he-
zone
he
and you're
was
in that flow
motivated.
state, and you're like, okay.
That's what Mike
just have
Tyson
to
said he
focus on
did.
this.
He would just stare the opponent down like a wild animal, and that's how he won stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you become friends with Justin and a sponsor for CBD oil for Fight Back?
So, my journey with CBD started actually in Illinois. Kind of going through my divorce and everything. I was looking for something to, doing some research on different things. I almost went on antidepressants, and I'm glad I didn't, because that, I heard that's a very scary ride
Yeah.
in itself.
Well, divorce
so-
can be tough, so I could see you doing that. I mean, it's tough on a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sure jiu-jitsu and coming out, hanging out with us is like a mental break going through that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's where my journey with CBD started, and just trying to find a reliable source of CBD that you're getting a good quality product and everything. It's very hard in the industry because apparently now there's some reports coming out saying that some companies that there's like very little CBD in a lot of their products, which makes you think what they're actually putting into it. So I remember being on Instagram and kind of looking around, and I came across Fight Back CBD, and I ordered a bottle and I tried it out, and I was actually backstage at King of the Cage waiting for the rules meeting to start. And I had gotten my CBD earlier that day from Fight Back. I took it, and I noticed a difference in any of the other products I tried over Fight Back. And I was like, this is cool. This is really good stuff. So I went on the website and I saw like a sponsored athlete section, and I hit Justin up on Instagram and I'm like, hey, I got my bottle. This is awesome. This is really good stuff. It's so different. And he's like, oh, thank you. And I said, so I noticed that there's a sponsored athlete section on your website. Are you taking on any sponsors or any athletes yet? And he's like, well, I can give you CBD. I can't really pay for competitions. And I was like, sold. I'm good with that. And then just that's kind of where it started. And, Justin's always been super good to me. And I try to pump him up and anytime I can. And, kind of pimping out Fight Back CBD at my gym and being like, if you want to try out CBD, you should try this. It's some of the best stuff I've ever had.
I instant messaged him. We were all like on a group chat. I was telling him about using my Fitbit and taking his CBD oil. It was amazing. My Fitbit gives you your results after a night of sleep. If you take his nighttime, I mean, you can take his daytime too, I'm sure, but I took his nighttime. I was getting, there's a part on it where it says 30-day average and your benchmark. I was blowing through my 30-day average and my benchmark on his CBD oil on my deep sleep.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And I sent it to him. I might have to do like a write-up for him or something to make it look more official and show him like proof of it. Because it's really weird. Because I was like, man, I feel great. I mean, like I felt so rested. I was getting to work at like 5:30 and just popping stuff out and finishing by just super fast speed. I was doing work then. Because I just felt so rested.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely find that when I take CBD, like my mind stays quiet because I'm a person that has a lot of nervous energy all the time. I'm always
you're right,
tapping at work or whistling or doing this and that. And I notice that when I take CBD, kind of a lot of that shuts out of my mind. And I definitely feel my joints don't hurt as much. And just like there's just like a sense of calm and kind of zen that almost kind of comes over me. Not to be all woo-woo bullshit about it, but
no, it does. I was just saying, you're right, because it calms your brain down a little bit. 'Cause mine will just keep working. It helps me a little bit. I don't know about anyone else.
It kind of sounded like you were like, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, I noticed you had a lot of nervous energy.
It's for me.
Like, yeah, Joe. You pretty much walk around with nervous energy all the time. We can all sense it.
I meant like calms you down. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, you always seem like a calm dude. Heckin'.
Yeah.
Too tall. I can't keep saying Joe because we don't know which one we're talking about.
Yeah, we gotta.
So from now on, it's Too Tall and Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I try to be just relaxed and I try to not let things get to me because there was a point in my time where a lot of the little things would always get to me. Mm-hmm. But I know after doing jiu-jitsu and learning that being comfortable with being uncomfortable, definitely your perspective shifts on a lot of things and a lot of your interactions, and just seeing how there's some people that get so worked up about the littlest of things, but how, like, from after doing jiu-jitsu, I'm just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
If that's the worst thing that happens today,
That's
you're coming
good,
out aces. So
Yeah. So that's pretty zen of you. But can you provide an example of like one of those little things that people like in everyday life would be getting, mad about that you found that jiu-jitsu helps with?
A lot of times just talking to people and just dealing with people, because when going throughout your day, no matter what, there's so many different personalities that you come across with. You come across people that are nice and open. You come across people that are more closed off. You come across people that are, they might be having a bad day and they're just being a jerk, or you come across someone who's just naturally an asshole or this and that. And definitely with jiu-jitsu, it kind of has, like, I come across a little more even keel.
Yeah.
And definitely learning how to kind of problem solve that and kind of think on my feet and just be like, okay, if that's how this interaction is going to go, I can see myself out. Bye.
Yeah. Like if someone's just like rude to you or something, you don't have to necessarily be rude back. You just be like, okay. Like.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of times people are, they get so offended, like when a random person that they're never going to see again, doesn't have the right attitude with them. It's like, is it really that big of a deal?
Exactly. Or even like when you're driving in traffic and there's someone that's, they're honking their horn behind you or this and that, and then they go to cut you off. I mean, it's traffic. We all just have to deal with it.
Right.
But then you don't know what they're going through. They might, they might be having a horrible time in their relationship. They might have a sick child. They might just not have a positive image about themselves or whatever. So they feel like they have to kind of lash out into the world and do this and that. But in the end, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It kind of does if they're going to put someone else at risk, but...
Oh, yeah, definitely. But then you try to distance yourself from that as much as possible and be like, okay, it's not going to be me.
Right. Because a lot of times people, when they're driving, it's like if someone cuts them off, then they're like, oh, now I have to cut him off. Yeah. And it's just like, well, as long as you didn't get into an accident the first time, just let it be and keep going.
And then the worst part about cutting somebody off, they don't disappear. They're right behind you.
Right. Yeah.
That's true. Having problems sleeping at night? Try the nighttime Fight Back CBD oil. Starting to use CBD oil on patients and stuff now for physical therapy?
Actually, no.
Really?
That's kind of one of the things that New York is a very traditional conservative kind of state.
Huh.
And very much so.
Really? I didn't know that.
A lot of the standards in New York State are very high, and I know that for the PTA program, or to get your license in New York State, you have to have like a 77, I want to say, to pass the exam, where some states you only have to get like a 50 to pass.
Oh, wow.
So like if you get your license in New York State, you can go anywhere with it. Mm-hmm. And even with MMA, New York was one of the last states to adopt MMA as a sport, to have it regulated. So coming up with my training partners, we would always have to go to Pennsylvania or to Ohio to go and get fights, or go on the Indian reservation to go and fight, which, is kind of sketchy in its own right.
Wow.
But, especially with a lot of the medical marijuana stuff that's going on now, there's a lot of, trying to think, I had a thought and then it disappeared, but it's, New York State's very traditional, and there's a lot of people that are freaked out by it. I can see there being a lot of benefits in medical marijuana, and especially in CBD, where there's not any of the psychoactive component in there that's going to make you high and this and that, where people, they take CBD and they're like, oh man, I got so fucked up. Where,
right.
No, you probably didn't have CBD then. You had something synthetic in there.
Yeah, because they usually remove the THC that causes that. That's why I was they take they take industrial hemp plants, and that's where they get a lot of CBD from.
Okay.
Do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's something that they'll start doing in New York soon? I'm sure that would really help a lot of your patients too, just feel better, and especially if they're doing rehab and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would definitely hope so. I mean, with Canada legalizing marijuana, that's definitely, huge. I think, puts some pressure on some of the border states to do something about it, because there's going to be lots of money in tourism of people being like, oh, hey, let's go to Toronto and let's get stoned and then come back,
Oh,
so
hey.
I would hope that, things kind of loosen up in New York State and people can get help without having to, use opioids or this and that and, all that garbage.
Yeah, anything to avoid those opioids, which seem to be really causing a major problem throughout the whole country.
Yeah, and then one of the big things with CBD is there's so much that's still untested and unfounded, because it's still a relatively new market that, is growing exponentially. Like all the time, whenever I tag or whenever I throw the hashtag CBD keeps me on the mats and whatever on Instagram, I'll get like 5 follows from random CBD companies being like, oh, CBD pharmacokinetics have followed you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Even the Oss-So Crazy podcast was getting
we're getting a bunch. Yeah, we're getting a bunch of people.
Yeah, but I hope something happens. So, it would be nice for people to be able to, have more access to CBD and see some more testing with it, because a lot of everything that I've seen so far is anecdotal, and it's completely different than marijuana. When I first started taking CBD, or when I wanted to take CBD instead of not, my ex-wife was saying, so you're just going to do marijuana now? And I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's completely different. It has some of the same chemical makeup, but it's none of the fun stuff. It's just all the healing.
That is
Which
the
is
fun
fun.
stuff to me. I need
Healing is fun.
That is very, very fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a
'cause-
lot of people that don't understand like the differences and just the benefits too. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, whatever, druggies. No, do you guys actually, this is a question for all of you. Do you guys feel CBD? Because I don't necessarily, I've even taken like, I guess that'd be 40 milligrams, in like one sitting. I don't feel much. Like I guess I sort of feel like a little bit of relaxation. And I guess my joints feel a little lubricated. I don't get like a feeling. Everyone claims that there's a lot of feeling involved. Like, do you guys feel it at all when you take it?
No.
I don't really take it that much. Like,
Yeah, I don't take it
anything.
consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only once in a
just-
great while.
Yeah, because I don't really have a lot of injuries. Sorry.
Lucky you.
I say if you take it before
It
bed,
really depends. Like sometimes I'll feel it if I use a vape product, which I do from time to time. That feels different than doing the sublingual oil. But I remember when I first started taking it, there was a little bit more of that, like that calming, relaxing kind of came on faster. Where now, after using it for a while, I don't know if I notice it as much, but there's times where I definitely do feel a mental shift. Like if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and I feel a little cranky, then I take the CBD and then I'm like, okay, now it's time to take on the day.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like I said, with Fight Back, I took it and I don't feel anything typically. Then when I was announcing for grappling games, when I got on stage, none of the nervous side effects that I normally would get in that situation were there. Like I didn't sweat, I felt fine. I didn't like I normally end up pausing and doing the uhs and ums. I didn't even do that, and so I felt really relaxed up on stage. So
yeah, I think that's what you'll feel is more relaxed.
Yeah.
Like your mind just seems to be not so, like Joe was
sure.
saying, just constantly running. You know, it's like more like, not that it's focused, just not thinking, like you're thinking of something, it's not going to be bouncing and going to, oh, okay, I'm going to, something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a personal training client who does, who takes CBD. Now, she was telling me that she felt it like a high, like she was like, there's straight up, weed in this. And, she said her boyfriend felt the same thing too. And I was like, so she gave me a couple of samples. So she has a really like expensive one. It was super expensive. I want to say like $120 for 25 milligrams, and I don't know how many were in there. I want to say 30 maybe, but it was a lot of money anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm curious to see like, if this stuff is special or anything. So she actually gave me 2 of them, but this felt similar to how I felt with Fight Back, and I didn't feel any sort of like high or any strong feeling, at all really. And I took a lot of that too. I took 50 milligrams of that one, and it wasn't any different. So she's gonna be taking Fight Back. I turned her on to that, so that's good for us.
Yeah.
But,
Go Fight Back.
yeah.
We're not biased at all.
Not at all.
No, never.
The Oss-So Crazy podcast is now available on Spotify, Castbox, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Google Podcasts. Brought to you by Ranked Soap Company and Fight Back CBD.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Too
It's
Tall.
a pleasure to have you, Too Tall.
Well, thank you guys for having me, and it was good catching up with you guys.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
So where can our listeners actually, not viewers, where can they find you on social media? Do you have any Facebook or Instagram pages?
So, on Instagram, I'm at tootall_JH. That's kind of the Too Tall headquarters, I guess, so to speak. I have a Too Tall Facebook page, but I was trying to get it hooked up with the Instagram, but I think for some reason having multiple Instagram accounts kind of throws things through a loop. So, I mean, I'm on Facebook at Joe Hacken, Instagram at TooTallJH, and yeah, see you guys there or at a jiu-jitsu tournament or,
Stop
wherever.
by Compritos
Yeah.
so we can roll again.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If I can make it down to Chicago this year, I'm going to definitely stop in and show you guys my new moves.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
We're excited.
You're going to do the rubber guard on us?
Yeah. Funny story. I always felt self-conscious about doing rubber guard at Compritos just because of everything being so like hard-nosed and traditional and old school there, that trying to bust out some new school odd jiu-jitsu type stuff that a lot of people kind of frown upon and say, oh, that doesn't work and this and that. So like I kind of shied away from doing a lot of rubber guard when I was at Compritos. But I don't know, coming back to Buffalo, I found another training partner that wanted to rep more rubber guard stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll bust out some rubber guard
Yeah.
on you guys.
You should. See, I think that might have been like maybe a little bit in your head just because it's Brazilian and stuff. I think Compritos is really relaxed.
Yeah.
Like, I bullshit there all the time. Like, it's...
We all do.
Yeah. It's a really chill environment.
Yeah, I don't know. Always being around Comprito, I think I was always so intimidated just
At first,
because
like,
of
a lot of people get into
the legend of Comprito.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like,
that's what a lot
I
of
never
people
wanted
say.
to do anything to kind of step out of line or be this or that, but I definitely see where he's super chill. And I saw him at Masters Worlds and he was like, oh, are you competing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, go kick some ass. I'm like, will do.
Nice.
Comprito's a really nice guy, I think.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
goes like,
No, I think everyone knows how I feel.
All right.
all right, Joe.
Joe, thanks for coming on, buddy. We
We'll
appreciate
see you
it.
around.
You weren't too tall for this podcast.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I'll see you guys next time I'm in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Bye.
Farewell.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you
Like.
subscribe.
And share.
The Oss-So Crazy Podcast. Remember, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google, if we can ever find ourselves on there.
Google Play Music.
There's so many.
Yeah. Then we have
Castbox.
And Stitcher. All
Podbean.
your requests.
And Podbean,
which
our
is host.
publisher.
Yeah.
So
And
check
YouTube.
us out.
And YouTube, yes.
Yeah.
YouTube. I like
Podbean
it.
is going to branch it out to YouTube. I think we can do that too. So
Sweet. All right. Well, you know where to find us. So listen.
And that's a wrap, folks.
Episode 6.
It's in the
too
books.
tall.
Peace out, homies.